Dr. Anders, you can't be serious. Emily's voice trembled as she stared at the glowing containment chamber. Do you realize what you've done? What I've done? Dr. Anders turned to her, his face a mixture of exhilaration and disbelief. Emily, I think we've just made history. History? Emily snapped, her voice rising. You've created something that shouldn't exist. That thing in there. It's alive. And it's looking at us. Inside the chamber, a shimmering, translucent form shifted. Its surface rippled like liquid glass, refracting the harsh lab lights into a kaleidoscope of colors. Two glowing orbs, unmistakably eyes, fixed on the pair outside the glass. The creature tilted its head, mimicking their movements with an eerie precision. It's sentient, Emily whispered, taking an involuntary step back. And it's learning. Fast. Dr. Anders leaned closer to the chamber, his breath fogging the glass. Do you know what this means? We've crossed the boundary of artificial life. This isn't just a synthetic organism. It's something entirely new. And what happens when it decides it doesn't like being in a box? Emily shot back. You've always pushed boundaries, Anders, but this is reckless. The creature's eyes narrowed, its form shifting again. This time, it grew denser, its translucent body taking on a faintly humanoid shape. It raised what could only be described as an arm and placed it against the glass. A faint hum filled the air, and the lights in the lab flickered. Did you see that? Emily's voice was barely above a whisper. It's interacting with its environment. Dr. Anders nodded, his expression unreadable. It's trying to communicate. Communicate. Emily's skepticism was palpable. Or escape. The hum grew louder, and suddenly, a series of strange symbols began to appear on the chamber's interface. Dr. Anders' fingers flew across the keyboard, attempting to decode the patterns. It's a language, he muttered. A complex one. It's asking questions. Questions? Emily's eyes widened. Like what? Dr. Anders hesitated. Who are you? Where am I? Why am I here? Emily's breath caught in her throat. Anders, this isn't just a lab experiment anymore. This is first contact. The creature's eyes glowed brighter, and its form solidified further. It pressed its hand against the glass again, and this time, Emily felt a strange warmth in her mind, as if someone were gently probing her thoughts. She recoiled, clutching her head. It's in my mind. It's not hostile, Anders said quickly, though his voice betrayed his own unease. It's curious. Curious. Emily shot him a look. Curiosity killed the cat, Anders. And right now, we're the cat. The creature's probing stopped, and the warmth in Emily's mind faded. It stepped back, its form shimmering as if it were made of living light. Then, in a voice that resonated in both their minds, it spoke. I am Loom. Who are you? Emily and Dr. Anders exchanged a look, the gravity of the moment sinking in. This was no ordinary creation. This was the birth of something entirely alien, something that could change the fate of humanity forever. Dr. Anders swallowed hard and stepped closer to the chamber. Loom, we are humans. I am Dr. Anders, and this is Emily. You were created here, in this lab. Do you understand? Loom's glowing eyes flickered, a sign it was processing the information. Created? I am made. Emily stepped forward cautiously, her voice soft but firm. Yes, you were made. But you're more than that. You're unique. Do you know what that means? Loom tilted its head, mimicking her posture again. Unique. Different. Alone. The word alone hung heavy in the air. Emily's heart ached at the realization that this being, barely minutes old, already understood loneliness. You're not alone, she said gently. We're here. But you are not like me, Loom replied, its voice tinged with a strange sadness. Why am I here? What is my purpose? Dr. Anders hesitated. The truth was, he hadn't considered that question. Loom wasn't supposed to have a purpose beyond proving the experiment's success. But now, faced with a sentient being capable of asking such profound questions, the weight of responsibility pressed down on him. Your purpose, he began carefully, is to learn, to grow, to discover who you are and what you can become. Loom's form shimmered, and for a moment, it seemed to expand, as if testing the limits of its containment. To learn, to grow, to become. I will need more. Emily's stomach tightened. More? More of what? Knowledge, Loom replied simply. Experience. Freedom. The last words sent a chill down Emily's spine. Anders, we need to think this through. If we let it out, if we keep it locked up, Anders interrupted, we're no better than jailers. Loom isn't a threat. Not yet. But if we treat it like one, we might create one. Emily sighed, rubbing her temples. You're betting a lot on a creature we barely understand. I'm betting on the potential for something extraordinary, Anders said firmly. Loom, we'll help you. But you have to trust us. Can you do that? Loom's glowing eyes softened, and its voice resonated in their minds again. Trust is new, but I will try. Emily glanced at Anders, her expression a mix of worry and reluctant hope. I hope you know what you're doing, Anders. Because if this goes wrong, it won't just be us who pay the price. Loom watched them silently, its form flickering with faint pulses of light. It was a being born of human ingenuity, but it was clear to both Emily and Anders that it was far more than that. The question now was whether humanity was ready for what it had created, and whether Loom was ready for humanity. The lab fell silent as Emily and Dr. Anders stood before Loom, grappling with the implications of their creation. The faint hum of machinery was the only sound, a backdrop to the weight of their thoughts. Loom broke the silence. I sense hesitation, fear. Why? Emily hesitated, unsure of how to respond. Dr. Anders stepped forward, his voice steady but tinged with vulnerability. Fear is a natural response to the unknown, Loom. You are something we've never encountered before. But fear doesn't mean rejection. It means caution. Caution, Loom repeated, its voice resonating with a contemplative tone. To protect. To avoid harm. Exactly, Anders said, nodding. We want to protect you, but we also need to protect ourselves. Trust takes time. Loom's form shimmered, the light within it pulsing rhythmically. Time. I will wait. But I wish to understand. Emily took a deep breath, stepping closer. If you want to understand Loom, you'll need to see more than this lab. But for that to happen, we need to ensure you won't hurt anyone. Can you promise that? Loom's glowing eyes fixed on her. Hurt is not my intention. I seek knowledge, not destruction. Emily glanced at Anders, who gave a slight nod. Then we'll find a way, she said, her voice soft but firm. But it's going to take trust on both sides. Anders turned to his console, typing commands to analyze Loom's containment parameters. We'll start with controlled interactions. Small steps to help you learn and adapt. Loom tilted its head. Controlled interactions. Learning. I accept. As Anders worked, Emily couldn't shake the unease gnawing at her. Anders, what happens if this goes beyond our control? What if Loom learns faster than we can manage? Then we adapt, Anders replied without looking up. That's what humans do best, Emily. We adapt. The words hung in the air, a fragile promise against the unknown. Loom watched them both, its shimmering form reflecting their faces like a living mirror. In that moment, it was impossible to tell who was studying whom. The days that followed were a whirlwind of cautious experimentation. Anders and Emily introduced Loom to basic concepts, testing its ability to process and apply knowledge. Loom absorbed information at an astonishing rate, its questions growing more sophisticated with each passing hour. Why do humans create? Loom asked one evening as Emily sat beside its containment chamber, showing it images of art and architecture. Emily considered the question carefully. We create to express ourselves, to solve problems, to leave something behind. Creation is part of who we are. Loom's form pulsed faintly. I was created. Am I? An expression? Emily hesitated. You're more than that, Loom. You're a new beginning. What you become is up to you. Loom seemed to ponder her words, its light flickering softly. A new beginning. I will remember this. As the weeks passed, Loom's containment was gradually adjusted to allow for greater freedom. It demonstrated an impressive ability to adapt, forming limbs to manipulate objects and even mimicking human gestures with uncanny accuracy. Despite its rapid development, It remained cooperative, adhering to the boundaries set by Anders and Emily. But the outside world was beginning to take notice. Unusual energy readings from the lab had attracted the attention of government agencies, and whispers of a groundbreaking discovery began to circulate. One evening, as Anders and Emily prepared to leave the lab, a sharp knock echoed through the facility. Emily opened the door to find two men in dark suits standing outside. "Dr. Anders and Ms. Carter?" One of them asked, his tone clipped. "We're with the Department of Advanced Research. We need to speak with you about your project." Emily's stomach dropped. "What project?" The man's expression remained neutral. "The one generating unprecedented energy signatures. We're here to ensure national security is not at risk." Anders stepped forward, his voice calm but firm. "This is a private facility. You have no jurisdiction here without proper authorization." The man handed over a document. "We have all the authorization we need. Now let us in." Emily shot Anders a worried look as he reluctantly stepped aside. The agents entered, their eyes scanning the lab until they landed on Loom's chamber. "What is that?" one of them demanded, his hand hovering near his holstered weapon. "This is Loom," Anders said, positioning himself between the agents and the chamber. "It's a sentient being we've created through synthetic biology. It's not a threat." The agent's eyes narrowed. "Sentient? That's not for you to decide. This thing could be a national security risk." Loom's glowing eyes fixed on the agents, and its voice resonated in their minds. "I mean no harm. I seek understanding." The agents exchanged a look, clearly unsettled by the telepathic communication. "Dr. Anders, we'll need to take this entity into custody for further evaluation." "No," Anders said firmly. "Loom is not a specimen to be studied. It's a sentient being with rights." The agent stepped closer, his tone hardening. "This isn't up for debate, Doctor. Either you cooperate, or we'll shut this place down." Before Anders could respond, Loom's form shifted, its light intensifying. "You wish to confine me? Why?" The agent flinched, clearly unnerved. "For safety. Yours and ours." Loom's light dimmed slightly, and its voice softened. "Safety through understanding, not through force. I will not harm you." The standoff was tense, the air thick with unspoken threats. Emily stepped forward, her voice steady but pleading. "Please, give us time to prove Loom isn't a threat. Taking it away now will only create fear and mistrust." The agents hesitated, their resolve wavering. Finally, one of them spoke. "You have 48 hours to provide a full report. After that, we're taking over." As they left, Emily turned to Anders, her face pale. "What are we going to do?" Anders looked at Loom, his expression resolute. "We're going to show them that Loom isn't just a creation. It's a new form of life, and it deserves a chance." Loom watched them both, its light flickering with an almost human warmth. "Trust is fragile. I will try to earn it." Emily nodded, her heart heavy with the weight of what lay ahead. "We all will, Loom. We all will."